With Russia's bombardment of Ukraine intensifying in recent months, calls for Russian state assets to fund Kiev's defence efforts are growing. MEPs made the call during the final European Parliament session ahead of the June elections. They say Russia needs to pay.
Not often are the moral, legal, political and economic arguments for action as strong as in the case for confiscating Russia's state assets to help Ukraine. Europe needs to seize all of Russia's underlying assets, and it must do so now.
EU countries have been discussing a €3 billion aid package for Ukraine, using the interest from capital held within the bloc by the Russian Central Bank. Some MEPs say the EU needs to do more in line with other allies.
By the time being, we are not going to seize the capital because there's not enough clarity about what we can do and what we cannot do. Certainly, we would be very happy if we could take 300,000 million euros.
Borrell says the bloc should be able to profit from Russia's holdings so Ukraine can defend itself, rather than using seized assets only to fund reconstruction. But he says the decisions must be lawful. This is the aftermath of a Russian attack in the Donetsk region in eastern Ukraine. 5 people were injured in what appears to be a guided aerial bomb strike. This man shows where shrapnel pierced a door. It's the second time the area has been targeted this month. Russian forces also shelled Odessa, Kherson, Kharkiv and Dnipro. Meanwhile, Russian troops are moving closer to the key battleground town of Chausuya in eastern Ukraine. They have to capture at least one village and part of another to get there. Much of the town has been destroyed in the fighting and many residents have fled. The Institute for the Study of War says Russian forces entered the town of Ocheretene on Sunday amid continued fighting near Avdiivka. The US-based think tank says Moscow doesn't control the town despite its claims otherwise. As Kiev waits for more military support to arrive from Western allies, Russia's defense minister says the army will intensify strikes on locations where weapons are stored in Ukraine. As Lithuania announces the transfer of armoured vehicles to Ukraine, some US military aid is reportedly already in Germany and Poland.
Pro-Palestinian students in the US are demanding that their universities condemn Israel's assault on Gaza and divest from companies that sell weapons to Israel. Protests are sweeping top universities like Yale, Columbia and Harvard.
It's time for us to show that, yes, we want to be visible. The university should do something about what we're asking about the genocide that's happening in Gaza. They should stop investing in this genocide that our people is now suffering from.
Some Jewish students say much of the criticism of Israel has veered into anti-Semitism and made them feel unsafe.
Anti-Semitic protests! I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
More than 100 pro-Palestinian demonstrators camping at Columbia University were arrested last week. Similar protests are occurring in Europe, with around 100 students occupying a lecture hall in Sciences Po in France last month.
Another migrant tragedy in the English Channel. At least 5 people died while trying to cross from France to Britain. Their bodies found on a beach in northern France. About 100 people had to be rescued. The latest incident comes as the British Parliament passed a bill to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda for processing, in an attempt to deter small boat crossings. The bill is raising concerns around the human rights of asylum seekers and the rule of law. The Council of Europe's Commissioner for Human Rights, Michael O'Flaherty, is urging the UK to make sure it complies with international standards. More than 6,000 small boats have arrived on British shores since January. On Monday, Britain's Prime Minister said the first flight to Rwanda will leave the UK in about 3 months' time. Rishi Sunak accused the Labour Party of stalling the plan. The UN has called for the UK to scrap it altogether. The EU is attempting to eradicate forced labour from European markets. Under new rules backed by a majority of lawmakers, products made using forced labour will be banned. That includes goods made in the bloc with materials produced abroad. The new regulation allows national authorities or the European Commission to investigate products with suspected links to forced labour and seize them at the borders.
If you take into account that around 27.6 million people are a victim of forced labor in the world, then this really means that we need to fight forced labor. These are serious human rights violations, and what happened today is that also the European Parliament said we will stop allowing products made out of forced labor on the internal market. This will strengthen our market, this will protect companies, this will protect consumers, but mainly it will protect human lives.
Products involving forced labour will be donated, recycled or destroyed. The International Labour Organization says at least 28 million people are involved in modern-day slavery, including 3 million children. The rules apply to products manufactured anywhere in the world. However, China appears to be the main target.
There will be a list of high-risk areas and sectors, and indeed an indicator is the state-imposed forced labor. This is what we find in China, this is what we find in Xinjiang, where we find so many Uyghur people being violated in their rights, and this is exactly what needs to stop.
A recent report found links between dozens of major European clothing brands and forced labour in detention camps in China. If approved by all 27 member states, the changes will begin in 2027.
In Madrid, members of the Popular Party are conducting a membership campaign to join the so-called Ayuso team. The president of Madrid is one of the most popular leaders of the PP, with their greatest success having been the first conservative leader to curb the rise of the far-right Vox in Spain. The Popular Party now expects to double its seats in the European elections at the expense of Santiago Abascal's party.
Yo estoy convencido que ese votante de Vox tiene las mismas preocupaciones y los mismos gustos que yo. Por lo tanto, si lo que quiere es que sus reivindicaciones se lleven a cabo, que haga un voto útil y vote realmente el partido que se las va a llevar y las va a ejercer en el Parlamento Europeo.
Isabel Díaz Ayuso ha sido capaz de cosechar miles de votos del partido de Vox aquí en Madrid, haciendo suyos algunos de los discursos como la defensa de la libertad económica como Milei en Argentina o la defensa de la unidad de España. Ayuso abandera sin complejos la batalla cultural contra la izquierda.
La presidenta Ayuso ha dado desde el minuto uno la batalla de las ideas, pero defendiendo las ideas que no son necesariamente las ideas de la derecha. La gente se está dando cuenta que la izquierda han hecho de ese feminismo radical excluyente una industria, han hecho de ese ecologismo absurdo llevado al extremo también una industria.
Despite the rise of the far right throughout Europe, Vox lost 600,000 votes in the last general elections. In the battle against amnesty for Catalan independence leaders, the Popular Party competes with Vox to represent Spain's unity.
Vox va a necesitar algo más que captar a votantes descontentos. Va a tener que demostrar que su voto es realmente más atractivo para esos votantes que en su momento dejaron al PP, ¿no?
Between Díaz Ayuso's discourse and the more moderate positions of the national leader, Alberto Núñez Feijóo, the Popular Party faces the challenge of attracting Vox voters without alienating centre-right voters.
Son líderes que tienen puntos de vista que son bastante diferentes, ¿no? Entonces, esto es cierto y puede serle útil al PP en términos estratégicos para tratar de captar votantes diferentes.
But Vox has not had their last word. The farmers' protests that have swept across Europe could boost the Spanish far-right party in the European elections. Abascal's party has withstood the Popular Party's onslaught in the Basque regional elections, and it is expected that Vox will improve its results compared to the 2019 European elections to consolidate itself as the third political force.
The race for the European Parliament elections in Italy has begun. The deadline for parties to submit the symbols displayed on their respective ballots has passed. And so, this week, Italy found out which parties are running in the elections this summer. Center-right Forza Italia waited until Monday morning to present its logo, which features the words Berlusconi President in plain sight.
Una scelta di fondo nel luglio scorso con l'inserimento del nome Berlusconi nello statuto, non solo nel simbolo di Forza Italia.
Forza Italia is not the only party that has included its leader's name in its logo. Fratelli d'Italia included Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and the right-wing Lega Party Secretary Matteo Salvini. The populist Five-Star Movement decided to go a different way, displaying a hashtag peace sign instead of a
Dei
name.
grandi partiti, l'ultimo a depositare il contrassegno qui al Viminale è il Partito Democratico, la cui dirigenza si è spaccata sulla volontà della segretaria Elly Schlein di mettere il suo nome nel logo. Ha fatto discutere infatti l'inedita personalizzazione del partito, che ha sempre evitato di identificare il voto con il suo segretario.
Finally, Elly Schlein, the secretary of the Democratic Party, in a live on Instagram, announced her decision. She will run as a chief candidate for her party, but refused to put her name on the logo because it's divisive.
Una cosa è certa, la campagna elettorale dei Dem non comincia nel migliore dei modi. Michela Morsa, Euronews, Roma.